Wonderful. Hi, everyone. I am recording this meeting for your reference, and the recording will be posted on our non-public textbook webpage. Welcome, all of you. It's so nice to see your faces. Me and Sandra have emailed with many of you before, so your names are familiar. You're all here because you would like some more information on the non-public textbook program and how to place your orders. My name is Nicole Obregon. I'm the Special Fiscal Programs Administrator. I oversee 3 programs here at MSDE, and the non-public textbook program is one of them. I also have on the line with me Sandra Grant. She is the Education Specialist. She's the manager for the non-public textbook program. She's also on the line, and I don't think I have any other MSDE colleagues on. Let me take a scan of the nope, it's just me and Sandra right now. Okay. I've put a link to the non-public textbook webpage in the chat box for your reference. So before we get started on providing you with the information about ordering, I want to just direct you to that webpage real quick because it has a lot of great information on it. This webpage should be your first stop for information. We keep updated information on this webpage, so it's easy for you to access. You can see here that the ordering period was extended. It used to be March 31st, and now it's April 17th. So that our webpage has been updated to reflect that. There's a section here on who's eligible. There is a section here on what the funds can be used for, and we'll talk about this today as well. All of the recordings for the sessions that we've held in the past are on the webpage. So if you want to go back and listen to a recorded session, you can do that. And then here's a placeholder for today's session that's happening right now. So when we conclude today, I'll send the video to have closed captioning put at the bottom. And then we'll upload that recording right here. So if you want to go back and listen to the things we talked about today, you can do that as well. If you have any vendors that ask you about how to become a participating vendor, or if they want to know how to sign up for direct deposit payments or where they can send their invoices, there's also information here for vendors as well. So you can direct them to our webpage too, and then scroll all the way to the bottom. Sandra's direct phone number is listed at the bottom of the page, 410-767-0444. And the email address for non-public textbook is also at the bottom. And then if you want to give me a call too, my number is there as well. So scroll all the way up. So at the conclusion of every meeting that we have, we add to our list of frequently asked questions. We keep this document updated as new questions are asked that we think others could benefit from reading as well. So the last time we updated this was just a few days ago on March 3rd. The first section is all about questions that people had about applying, but the application period is over now. All of you are in. So the next section is all about questions people have had about about ordering. Do you need quotes for everything? What are some things you can and can't ask for or request? How do you confirm you've received items? How do you enter shipping costs? Should I be keeping records? Is there a deadline? So we're going to add questions here as well when we finish up today. And there are other resources here on the left-hand side as well. If you lose the link to the ordering portal, it's here on the left-hand side. You can just click and it takes you right there. There's a list of approved schools, a list of approved vendors. We are adding new vendors every week. An inventory record you can download and use to keep record of the items that you receive. And then if you have to throw away or dispose of any items that we've paid for, you can there's an asset disposal form here as well. So the webpage has lots of information for you already. So let's get started with information about the program. If you have any questions, we'll save lots of time at the end for you to ask those questions. So you can feel free to put them in the chat box, but we'll get to all the questions at the end. So all of you are here because you want information about the ordering process for the non-public textbook program. And here, let me turn my phone down on the volume down on my phone. Here's what we're going to be talking about today. I'll give you an overview of the non-public textbook program. We'll go over use of funds. We'll talk about how to place your orders. We'll go over a timeline of the next events that will happen over the course of the next year, and then of course we'll save time at the end for questions. The non-public textbook program is an annual program, so it is renewed every year through the governor's budget bill, and so schools have to apply every year. The funds for this year, which is fiscal year 2023, are authorized out of Senate Bill 290. That's the governor's budget bill for the last governor. We have a new governor now. But if you're interested in reading what the legislation says about the guidance for this program, this bill is long. It's over 400 pages, but the non-public textbook program starts on page 162. And so all of the guidance that we provide to schools on how much money they're allocated, how do we distribute the funds, what you're eligible to ask for, all of the information that we provide, the guidance that we provide for this program comes from legislation. So if you want to read about it, it's there for you to click on and scroll through. Non-public schools have to apply to participate, and all of you have already done that, and you were approved. Approved schools receive a funding allocation, and you all should have also received an email stating how much money you're allocated to spend down. From there, schools submit quotes from vendors for allowable items, and then MSDE pays the bill, and schools coordinate delivery with vendors to receive your items. That's pretty much an overview of the program. So what can funds be used for? Funds can be used for secular textbooks, that is material that is not religious in content. Schools can request to use funds to purchase manipulatives for individual student use that accompany a curriculum. In legislation, it states that the funds are for textbooks and technology, but we've expanded that to also include manipulatives that accompany the textbook, the textbooks or the curriculum that the school is using, whether it's language arts, math, phys ed, music, science curriculum. And the key here is that the item has to be for individual student use. You can also use funds for technology hardware for individual student use, and technology software for individual student use. And we've added a caveat here that the cost of items must be reasonable, not reasonable. That is, if you'd like to purchase a set of, let's say a set of iPads for each individual student to use, then we would expect the cost of those iPads to be in market value, reasonable, and comparable to what students would use in a public school setting. So some examples of allowable use of funds are student textbooks, teacher manuals. We're also now allowing schools to purchase the teacher manual that accompanies the student textbooks, workbooks, handwriting books, leveled readers, library books. Along the technology side, tablets, like the iPads, laptops, headphone sets. That is, each student needs a headphone set, maybe with a microphone to conduct their virtual learning or access the learning website. Puzzles, again, that are for individual student use. Manipulatives, for example, math block sets, science materials, art materials, student licenses to learning websites. That is, if you would like to purchase or request for us to purchase subscriptions like student licenses to online learning websites that offer game-based learning or online assessments, you can request that as well. Some vendors offer school-wide license packages, and it also includes a teacher license, so you can ask for that as well. A caveat for manipulatives for individual student use, such as items that accompany math or science curriculum or art curriculum. The items that you request must be able to be loaned to a student for their individual use. So items like paintbrush set per student, a set of paints per student, math block sets per student would be approved. However, larger items that are for the whole group to use or that can't be loaned to a student, like items like a chalkboard or an easel, one easel that all of the students, the whole class uses, would not be approved, for example. So let's move on then to what are some items that would not align with the approved use of funds. Schools cannot request that funds be used for food, tuition or scholarships, construction or capital improvements, salaries, utilities or operating costs, and that includes things like internet bill or things along that line. Materials that contain religious content, and any item that cannot be loaned to a student for individual use. So here are some examples of items that would not be funded under this program. Interactive whiteboards, those are those touchscreen tablets that you mount on the wall or that come on a stand. Again, those are large items that aren't loaned to an individual student. They're something that the whole class and the teacher uses. Televisions, playground equipment, software for teacher or parent use. However, as I mentioned a few minutes ago, if there is a teacher license that accompanies student licenses, then we would pay for that. Furniture is not allowable. Rugs are also not allowable. We're still receiving many requests for carpets and rugs and things like that. Larger tech items that, again, are for the teacher to use, like laminating machines, printers. Again, items for big group use that aren't loaned to a student, like play kitchens or bins for storage, bookshelves, things of that nature, would not be approved. Some other examples of items that recently we've received that have not been approved: drones, outdoor speakers, antivirus software, posters and bulletin board decorations for the teacher's classroom, teacher training opportunities. These are all items that cannot be loaned to a student and students don't use. And so they don't align with the approved use of funds for this program. So let's say you've taken a look at the list of vendors and you're ready to place your order. So the first thing you do is log into the application/ordering portal and you set your password, let's say for the very first time. After that, after you're in, you see your allocation at the top of the screen. You'll review your allocation letter so you know how much money you have to spend down, and take a look at the list of registered vendors that's on our webpage. Then you'll essentially go shopping and gather quotes from vendors and spend down your allocation. You'll have to upload the quote to the ordering portal and then create a new order. So a couple of notes about the quotes that you upload. The quotes must contain items that align with the approved use of funds that we just talked about. The quote can't include taxes because MSDE is a tax-exempt institution. If a vendor requests that you send them evidence of this, we can send you a certificate of our tax-exempt status. So just feel free to ask us and we'll send that to you. And the quote has to include any freight or shipping or delivery costs, if there are any. Some vendors, if you spend over $100, you get free shipping, or any delivery in Maryland, you get free shipping, and that's fine. We also look for that at the bottom of the quote. But if the quote includes shipping, and when you enter your order, you don't include shipping, essentially that means that we won't pay for the shipping costs to deliver those items to your school. So we would bump that back to and ask that you include shipping costs in your order. So essentially, any quotes that don't meet these three criteria above will likely cause delays in us processing that quote. Next, you'll pay attention to your email inbox as MSDE reviews your order If your order that you entered is approved, I don't think schools receive a notification. You'll only receive notification or an email back if the quote was rejected or if we require additional information, or some of the things we may ask for are that you remove one particular item that's not approved. I may ask you to remove this item and then resubmit your order, or if shipping is on the quote but you didn't include it in your order, we will bump it back to you and ask that you include shipping costs in your order, things like that. For quotes and orders that are approved, once we click approve on our side, Sandra and I, then that order gets sent to our procurement office, and they generate a purchase order and a purchase order number for that order. Currently, I don't think that step has taken place yet. We haven't received enough orders to trigger them to begin that process yet. We've only received about 270 or so. A total, we're expecting to receive 3,000 to 4,000. So as soon as we start receiving more orders, then procurement will begin generating purchase orders for those approved items. Once a purchase order is generated, then communication will be sent directly to the vendor, from us to the vendor, with that purchase order, which essentially gives the vendor permission to process and ship that delivery, that quote, to the school. For smaller orders like a set of 10 paintbrushes or a pack of 25 level readers, you may not receive communication about delivery. It may just be a small package that is dropped off to your school's doorstep or in your mailbox. But for larger orders, like a pallet of 150 laptop computers, the vendor may want to touch base with your point of contact to make sure that your school is open on the delivery day and make sure that you have someone who can unload the pallet and things like that. The last step to all of this is that schools do have to log back. You have to log back into your account and mark that you did receive those items. It's important for us to know what items were received so that we are can pay that invoice. But we won't be able to pay the invoice from the vendor until there's been verification that the school received those items. So here are some screenshots of what you, the school, see on your side. This should look familiar to most of you. Your school name's at the top, and then there's 3 steps to this process for you. Step 1 is place your order. Step 2 is request to MSTE, and then step 3 is order to vendor. So when you click on create a new order, this is the screen that you'll see. Your allocation for the year is at the top in blue ink, and as you spend it down, that will be reflected as your allocation remaining, which is in that light tan color ink right off to the right-hand side. So you'll start off by typing in the name of the vendor, and let's say in this case it's Best Buy Education, so you'll type in Best Buy. Their name and address and federal ID will populate. Next, you'll enter in the name of the item from the quote that you got from them. Enter in the, first we'll indicate whether it's a book or not a textbook. Then you'll enter in the serial number for the item, the description of what that item is, the quantity, how many of that item you're requesting, and the unit price, that is, what is that price per unit. On this sample, there are only 2 items entered, but I think you can go all the way up to 150. Once you've entered in all of your items, be sure to add the shipping costs right here at the top. You'll enter in the shipping costs right here. This one, it says 00. But if you are being charged shipping, this is where you enter it. You'll upload the quote that you received right here, so we have that on file as well. And if you'd like to type in any comments to us here to specify what an item will be used for, or if you anticipate that there may be some ambiguity there, and you would like to type a comment or a note to us to explain what that item will be used for, you can use the comment box, but it's not required. You can click save if you want to come back to this later, or you can click submit, and then when you click submit, it's sent to us for review. So once you submit that order, then it moves over to number 2, request to MSDE. And this essentially tells you that you've submitted it and it's under review from our side. If you don't, if your order is approved, again, I don't think you receive any communication about that. Typically, Sandra and I have been approving orders anywhere between 1 to 3 days. I think more or less, Sandra, it's taking us 1 to 3 days to approve an order. So this is what the screen looks like. And once that your order is approved and it is sent to our procurement office and they've generated a purchase order, then it will move over to order to vendor. And that lets you know that the vendor has received your order. And this is just for your information. This is what the message to the vendor looks like. They receive an email that looks like this. It comes from noreply.msde@maryland.gov. That's the email address that all of our portal communications come to you from. It says, "Dear Best Buy Education, please process the attached State of Maryland purchase order from the Nonpublic Textbook, Nonpublic Schools program." And then the vendor will click here, and then they'll be able to pull up your purchase order. So again, this is just for your information, for the school's information. This is what the purchase order looks like that vendors will receive. Their vendor information is in the top left-hand corner. Their vendor, the name of the company, the address, their federal ID, their email address and phone is here. And then your information goes in the center. That's where they're shipping those items to. Ship to school, it's your school name, your address, and then who you chose as your point of contact. That's in the center as well. If there are any issues with the order, the vendor is going to reach out to that point of contact to coordinate with the school. The purchase order is in the top right-hand corner. For this program, all purchase orders begin with R00P360, and then there'll be 4 digits following that. And then in the center are all of the items that you requested and that we approved. So that's what the vendor receives. So next, the vendors are expecting to get paid. So once the order's been processed, let's say the vendor delivers your items to you and you receive them, then MSDE pays the invoice for those items. Vendors must send the invoice electronically to the email address on that screen, invoice.msde@maryland.gov. We don't take paper invoices, or if you email it to one of us, we're just going to bump it right back to that invoice email address. When reviewing invoices, our accounts payable office is making sure that whatever is on the invoice also matches the purchase order. And so here's a quick timeline of important events. On February 1st, the ordering portal opened. So it's been open for about a month and a week or so. There were 3 customer service sessions that were held for schools on the ordering process, March 7th, which is today, February 16th. And we also held one a few days after the portal opened, like on February 3rd or something. We had another session as well. The ordering portal now closes on April 17th. It's been extended. Between April, May, and June, between April 18th, May and June, that's when MSDE takes the time to create the remaining purchase orders and reconcile accounts. Our state fiscal year ends on June 30th. So the state, we have 45 days from that date to liquidate funds. So between July 1st and August 14th, That's a liquidation period. If there are any items that a school ordered and that are actually now on back order or that no longer available, schools can use that time period to find a replacement item. And then happening on an ongoing basis is that vendors are delivering items and sending invoices to us. And then as well, schools are marking that items were delivered. So the ordering portal closes April 17th. And I'd be remiss if I didn't mention that we've extended the ordering portal close date one time. It will not be extended again past April 17th. And if schools do not enter their orders by this date, essentially you'll lose the remaining balance of your funds. If you send us an email on April 18th saying, oh my gosh, I missed the deadline. I have $3,000 left to spend. Can we please put an order in? The answer will be no. The deadline closed April 17th. That's a hard stop. So please keep that in mind and do not wait until the last minute to enter your orders. So if you have any questions, you can reach out. Feel free to reach out to me, but this is Sandra's information, her phone number, and the textbook, non-public textbook email address. If you send an email there, Sandra and I both monitor that inbox, although she's designated to this program, so you'll probably reach her first. So at this time, I'd like to open it up to any schools who have questions. You can feel free to unmute yourself and ask away.
Nicole, there's some questions in the chat.
Hi, I have a question.
Yes. Hi, Vanessa.
I'm actually not Vanessa. I'm on her computer. I'm Angela Riley. I'm the Center Director. How are you? It's okay.
Good.
I was wondering, I heard you say that we could not purchase like housekeeping furnishings. What about the accessories that go on housekeeping furnishings, like the pots and the pans and the little plate foods, individual things like that? Would that
when you say housekeeping accessories,
mm-hmm.
You mean cleaners and buckets and mops, or are you referring to something else?
I'm talking about the cleaners, the buckets, the mops, the pots and the pans, and some of the pretend food items.
Play housekeeping items.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, not real housekeeping. No, play housekeeping. Yes, even
pretend
the mops and the buckets, play housekeeping.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Like an imaginative play,
mm-hmm.
to a company like Imaginative Play. So those items, we're assuming that you're lending them to individual students and they're for their individual use, and we are approving items that meet that criteria.
Okay, but not the actual stove sets or refrigerators, things like that. No.
Right, not the large sets of furniture. Okay. Right, yeah.
Okay, all right, thank you.
Sure. Garrett. Oh, Garrett's here. Hi, Garrett. You raised your hand.
I did. Trying to speak out of turn. How are you, Nicole?
Oh, good. How are you?
Good, thanks. I just had a quick question on the so when schools have traditionally, probably this program's what, 23 years old, I think, right? Have ordered technology generally. They can still, just to clarify, they can still order iPads, laptops, the sort of stuff that would be for individual use, right? And yes, that's not prohibited at all. It's just the more group wide or classroom wide things such as smart boards, as the perfect example, right? I just wanted to clarify that. And then number two, how historically, do you have any like anecdotal, like are most of the technology purchases schools have done, individual items like that, like iPads and laptops, that sort of stuff?
Are they historically approved? Is that your question?
Yeah, like what they were in the past, but I just want to say, like, to be able to tell schools, for example, hey, normally the technology you're ordering anyway is iPads and laptops, that sort of stuff. My understanding was always that was the vast majority of the technology
is.
that was ordered. Okay, so
Yeah, it still is. It's Apple iPads, Chromebooks, laptops. Yeah, we still are receiving the bulk of our technology orders are those items, and so that's a quick approve, and we move on. Yes.
We got some questions from schools, but also from legislators, all that sort of stuff over in the middle of the session, about like the textbook program. I just
Sure.
wanted to get that record because I thought that was the case. I wanted to make sure we can tell everybody, hey, what you normally order, but for, the smart boards and the student, the class-wide things are the only things that are now prohibited. So I just wanted to make sure I clarified that. Thanks.
Yes, you're welcome. There are some questions in the chat. I'm just going to read them out loud. Caitlin asks, would felt story sets count as books? Yes. Same thing with board books, sensory books, touchy-feely books. Large magnet outside wall that is on the vendor's website. Yes or no? That's a no. Again, that large magnetic wall, you're not lending the wall to the student, so that would be not approved. We've done light tables in the past, for examples. Tables are considered furniture and will not be approved. Would individual musical instruments be allowable? Yes. Assuming that you're loaning them to individual students, yes, they would be allowable, and we have allowed those already over the past couple of weeks. Okay, some people have their hands raised. Valerie? Melanie?
Hi. Yes.
Hi.
Hi. How are you?
Good.
I was just confirming. I'm assuming because it's for individual, but with the Apple, the iPads, are you allowed to get the case, the
Yes.
board case, and the pencils to it?
Yes, assuming if you have 10 students under your care, you order 10 iPads, 10 cases, 10 pencils, 10 protective cases, then yes.
Okay. Thank you.
You're welcome.
So you're saying you have to get the amount of students you have, or?
No, not necessarily, but
Okay.
if we see that the quantities are all the same, then we just assume, oh, it's one per kid. Then we
Right.
just-
Yes. Okay.
But they don't have to match up.
Oh, okay. Thank you.
You're welcome. Brittany Baird. Hi.
Hi. So in the past, things like overhead projectors and the light tables, I was the one that asked about that. So that's a no longer ordering object.
Right.
Okay. This is gonna sound silly. I'm early childhood. But if the magnetic wall is on wheels and it can be wheeled in for individual use, but it's big, is that still a no?
We are doing our best to thread the line between legislation says books and tech, and we're doing our best to meet the needs of schools, but also meet what's in law. So if there are any gray areas where you want to ask a very specific item, you can send us a link and we will review that on a case-by-case basis.
Okay.
But you don't lend a wall to a student.
Okay.
So no, that would probably not be approved.
Okay. Thank you.
You're welcome. And who else? Kristen Jacobs, did you have a question too?
Hi, yes. Excuse me. So I heard you mention that online teacher subscriptions will be approved if they align with the student subscriptions. Just to verify, we typically purchase what they call hybrid packages of Go Math materials from Houghton Mifflin. So each student receives a workbook and an online subscription to the book. And then we usually get the online teacher's edition for each math teacher. So would that be approved?
Yes, and
Okay.
that is something that schools have already asked for as part of a bigger curriculum, a license that accompanies a book that accompanies a teacher's manual. It's the whole curriculum kit. So yeah, that would be approved.
Perfect. Thank you.
You're welcome. Would microscopes count towards science materials? Christina asks. Are you learning them to individual students? To me, it would seem like a manipulative that would accompany the curriculum. So this would be I don't think we've received any requests for microscopes yet. guests for individual students, yes, then that would be approved. If these are some of the cases where I would encourage you to use that comment box and type in notes to clarify ahead of time any item that you think, might be ambiguous. Feel free to add a comment, and we do review those. You're welcome, Christina. Along the same lines, if you have a class of 12 students, order 12 microscopes if you'd like one per student. So yeah. There are no more questions in the chat. I don't see any more hands raised. So if you have any questions, please just unmute yourself and ask away. Thanks, Garrett. So I think people are starting to trickle out. So you're not left to stare at me in silence. I guess I'll end it kind of early here. This is our last customer service session for this year, and the recording will be up on the website as soon as we get closed captioning put on there. So please feel free to reach out to us via email if you have any questions. We're here, we're ready, we're here for you. We're like ready to do this. So have a great afternoon.
Thank you.
Bye.
Thank
You're
you.
welcome.
Thank
Bye.
you for your
Sure.
time.
You're welcome.
Thank you.
Thank you, Nicole.
You're welcome, Dr. Haynes. Dr. Haynes, I think I've only communicated with you through email and phone. There you are.
Yeah.
Hi. Have a great day.
You too. You as well.
Bye-bye.
Thanks for all your support.
You're welcome.
Thank you.
Bye.
All right.